Hey everyone, it is Shannon and I'm here today with a Friday Reads video. Happy Friday everyone. I hope you are staying cool. It is very hot here in Toronto. We are in the middle of a heat wave. It's 30s, feels like 40s, and is going to continue as such for on and off for a fair while. So that's hot. That's hot. I don't know what that is in. I can't read the thermometer and what that is in Fahrenheit, but it's definitely 80s and higher. I don't know if it's as high as 100. I don't know. That's pretty rare, but it's definitely 80s and 90s probably. That's my guess. That's my weather guess temperature. Anyway, we're here to talk about books. I have a book that I finished, a book that I started, and a book that I'm carrying over. So I have all of the earmarks of a Friday Reads. We're going to start with what I finished, and that is Once Upon a Marquess by Courtney Milan. This is the first book in the Worth Saga, and I'm reading this as a part of my Stacking the Series this year, as a part of my romance list, and I really, really enjoyed it. This took me a fair amount of time to read. I started it like 2.5 months ago, but I put it aside for like a readathon or something, and then it took me a while to get back to it. I think overall it probably, if I just added the days I read it, it was probably only a week, but I didn't read it every day. I don't need to explain myself, do I? I don't know. Anyway, so this, if you could not tell, is a historical romance. It is actually Victorian set. I thought it was Regency because there's great witty banter between the leads, and that is often a Regency thing, I think, but this is Victorian. And it follows a woman whose family has sort of fallen to ruin a little bit because her elder brother and her father were implicated or involved, or there was scandal. So she is now needing to be at the forefront of the family. She takes care of her younger brother and sister. She has her older sister end up staying with an uncle, and so she's like making money and sending it to the family anonymously because she can't sort of like hold the money because she's a woman and the time period. And hello, this is one of the reasons I don't read historical romances. But anyway, but then she has a hard time getting access to both the money and information. So she recruits an old family friend who's a guy who will be the love interest, and he is the Marquess. And I think it's Marquess. I think maybe you can say Marquess or Marquis. Marquess with the double S. It feels like it's Marquess. So I'm just going with Marquess until I hear otherwise. Anyway, so he's the Marquess. She asks him for help in getting access to some of this legal information because he's a Marquess, and so he has a little more weight. And but they have a rocky past, so it's a bit of a second chance romance, and they have wonderful banter. Like, honestly, I haven't read something like this, I think, since I read the Tessa Dare. Oh, I can't remember what it was called. It's a red dress on the front. Oh, it was a great sort of like two people both thought they have ownership over the same castle. Oh, it's so good. I can't remember the Tessa Dare. Anyway, but that also had great witty banter. But this was great witty banter as well. And it's my second series that I'm reading by Courtney Milan. I also have started the Cyclone series that starts with Trade Me. Interesting, with both of these, I think they're anticipated to be like X amount of books. Like, this is going to be 7 books, plus there's novellas. And I think the Trade Me is going to be, I don't know, at least 4, but there's only so many that are out now. But I think these have both been out for a while. So it's interesting to see. It's a different, I haven't read not complete series for a while, or series that are ongoing, but you're not sure when the next book is going to come out. So anyway, but I am working on catching up with, I really like the Cyclone series, by the way. Let me know if you've read Trade Me, because wow, that, like, it was intense, and it's contemporary romance. I don't read a lot of contemporary romance, and both of these have some really interesting and not necessarily talked about that often topics that are more contemporary, which makes sense in the contemporary, but in this one it's not as often talked about. Anyway, I really enjoyed this one. I really enjoyed the strength of Judith's character, and I'm looking forward to continuing the series. I can't quite decide if I want to read the novella which is the next in the series, or go to another series. So that lends me to one of my questions. Do you like to stick to one series and read like all the way through, or do you like to jump around between different series? Because I can't decide what to do. I kind of am hesitant to jump to the next book because this took me so long to read, but the novella is 160 pages, which is a bit long for a novella. It's fine. I'm sure it won't take me that long to read it, but this was only 300 pages and it took me 2.5 months. But I read other books in the middle of it, like I read Forbidden by Beverly Jenkins in the last couple weeks, and so I put this one to the side, and so anyway, but so yeah, like I can't quite decide if I want to go to the next one, or if, especially because I'm doing the romance stacking the series, my original idea was to bounce between historical and the historical set and the paranormal romance urban fantasy set, and I kind of have my eye on Blood Magic by Nora Roberts because it's the third book in a series, and that would complete a whole stack and a whole series, and so that has some, excitement over it, and I haven't read that one for years, but then sometimes I'm like, oh, if you leave something for a long time, you kind of lose the energy or lose the thread. It doesn't matter so much with historical romance because it's usually just people of the same family or people that know each other, and there isn't always an overarching, story, like connecting story. And paranormal romance is sort of like sometimes there is and sometimes there isn't. And then urban fantasy, there almost always is an overarching story, which is something that I really enjoy. So, and I've actually been doing some rereading in that vein because I jumped back into a series and I was like, I don't remember who anyone is. And there's so many characters. So I actually went back to the beginning and started rereading. And I've enjoyed rereading. Like, I feel like it's still quite a stressful time. And so there is a comfort in rereading because, like, for me, in the sense that I don't need to pay attention to every single thing. I can just sort of like enjoy it and pay more attention to the things that and moments that I like and sort of clarify some of the things that I wasn't sure on. Usually characters, like for me, I remember sort of the plot, but if there gets to be like a cast of characters that is sort of like 10 or more, then it's like, I don't remember who everyone is. Especially if you're reading multiple series, because I'm always reading multiple series, so many series. So yeah, so let me know, do you like to pick and stick to one series, or do you like to jump around? And a shout out to Amy from Zoe Beck on the whole rereading front, because she often talks about rereading, and it made me feel like I can reread stuff too. Like I can just go back to the beginning, that it doesn't have to be new reads. There is a great, like, just a really nice comfort in rereading. And and I think sometimes when, like, I think there's some series that I enjoy so much that if I just jumped in and I didn't remember who people were or what was going on, I would get so much less out of it than if I reread it. And I find when I reread it faster than the first time, and I can sort of like, gauge like how much energy to spend on different sections and different characters. And so it's been a really nice reprieve, but it does sometimes give me less to talk about because I don't necessarily feel like I want to talk about rereads. So I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, and let me know, do you like to reread stuff and series? And I feel like I might, and this time I'm trying with my rereading, I'm taking some notes just for the character list, in the relationship, so that if I do decide to leave a series and come back, I have a reference point, because I do enter stuff in my spreadsheet, but I've been very, very lax about that recently and for several years. But I used to always like give a plot outline, major character developments, and where things left off. And that was particularly helpful for long arc urban fantasy series where like the next book wasn't even out yet. And I think I've gotten used to more reading books that are book series that are complete too. So I'm not sure. So yeah, so I've been really thinking about series and thinking about even more book reviews too. Like if I want to review books and series, I tried last year and it was, I had an idea that didn't quite work. And now I'm trying to figure out, if I want to do that again or do something with books and series and reviews or something. So, and I know people have different, like responses on book reviews, I think that generally speaking, people feel that they're lesser viewed, and they can take more work. And those are the two things I hear that sort of crop up when they're in tag videos. But I find for me, some of my book reviews were my highest viewed. Not all, some did not get tons of traction, but some did. And I did also find that someone who is actually looking for information, often school information, but on classics or whatever. But it's a way, like, what am I trying to say? It gains momentum over time. So, like a Friday Reads video, after a couple weeks, generally speaking, I don't think people are going to watch a Friday Reads after a month later. But a book review, if at any point that book becomes of interest to someone, they might seek it out. So, I don't know. So, yeah, but I don't know. So, anyway, I'm trying to think of book reviews. I'm also trying to think of, because I privatized all my old videos, if I do book reviews for projects that I am in the middle of, you can't watch the old videos. So I'm thinking maybe I'll start a new project that doesn't have any baggage, shall we say, and then it makes sense on its own. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. I've been playing with the idea this week, but I am not quite sure what exactly it would be, but I think it would be book reviews and maybe an urban fantasy, paranormal romance, something, but I'm not sure. Let me know if that sounds of interest, a very vague notion sounds of interest to you, because it keeps on being on my mind, and I'm trying to sort out what would be the best way to do it. And there probably would be like spoiler free to a certain point, and then maybe some discussion-y, prediction-y stuff separate at the end. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. Do you like book reviews? Would you like book reviews on urban fantasy and paranormal romance type stuff? And yeah. So, okay, on to what I'm currently reading. I started reading The Black Flamingo by Dean Atta. This is a coming-of-age story. It's set in the UK, and it follows a guy who is gay, and I've only read the first couple of sections, and I did not realize this actually, because this is often talks about when people describe this book, they often talk about when he's at university, but when the book starts, he's a kid, like he's like talking about toys, like which toys he likes, and which people in class he likes. So it starts at quite a young age, and I'm still in the sort of young age. I don't know if it's in grade school, middle school. I know the terms are different, and I don't know if he's mentioned them, but I am really enjoying it. He's quite a sensitive character. He's got a very complicated family. Not a very complicated, but a complicated family situation, and, has some challenges at school in terms of people dynamics, for sure. Not everyone is accepting of him, but he is very, I'm just rooting for him. Just rooting for him so much. And so I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. And this is, I think this is described as a novel in verse, so it's poetry. I actually don't know what that is, and I try not to use terms when I don't know what it is, but I've heard it enough to feel confident that it is a novel in verse. And note to self, I should look up what exactly that means, so the next time that I know for sure what that means. Feel free to let me know down below, but I can do my own homework, and I will. I am also currently listening to an audiobook of Richard III. This is a full cast recording, and Kenneth Branagh plays the character of Richard III. I'm having some complicated thoughts about this one this time, engaging with it. It's a history play. It's the final in the two tetralogies of the histories. It does read more like a tragedy. Richard III is very much a villain, but this time I didn't, like in previous ones, I didn't super pick up on the fact that one of the things about his character is that he is described as, I don't remember if they used the term disfigured or deformed, and there is a very strong line at the beginning that I really noticed in this particular performance, that he sort of is like, well, if I'm not going to be loved, I am going to be the best villain that there is. And so it had an air of self-hate to it that I feel rather uncomfortable with, just because so many times characters who are disfigured or deformed are villains. And I think I didn't pick up on it in other readings or watchings is because I watched the Ian McKellen version of, like, film version is the first time I encountered this story, and he's so charismatic that I didn't put that two and two together. So I'm only about halfway through this one. It's my second or third read, and it's one of my favorites. So I'm kind of feeling very uncomfortable about the fact that I'm not feeling okay with that. So I'm quite unresolved, and I'm processing all of that and how I feel about it. And it's also hard because Kenneth Branagh is he's such a good actor. He is such a good actor. Although this one I'm having a little trouble figuring out who all of the other players are, from their voices and stuff like that. But that's one of the challenges, and it really does, it's very performative, like there's music in between the scenes and stuff like that, which is really helpful because if you're listening and doing stuff, I know when the music is coming that it could be a good time for a break to move from what I'm doing, to something else, because I am not, I don't listen to a lot of audiobooks, so I don't have all of those good skills that I really like to finish at the end of the chapter, or in this case would be the end of the scene or end of an act. So anyway, so that is what I'm currently working on. I did want to mention a couple other things. The challenges for Grinchathon have been announced. I will leave a link to Izzy's announcement video up above where you can, or her challenge announcement video. Grinchathon is running from July 25th to August 1st. It's the Christmas in July edition. I am very much looking forward to it, and I'm putting together my TBR, and I'm getting all like, I do need to wait just a little bit of time to anticipate what I will finish before Grinchathon starts, to sort of like line up all my ducks in terms of like what would be a good fit and chance for success. That being said, it is a very open readathon. You can manipulate the challenges. That's actually very much encouraged. You can read books that you've already started. You can start books and not finish them. It is very low-key. You can do whatever you want, and it's always so much fun. I really enjoy participating in Grinchathon, and I'm looking forward to it. I have had some videos up this week. Go me! I did some pre-filming, so that was nice because I think I took some inadvertent time off, which is also fine too. But I did the mid-year freakout tag as well as a review on Dune, and I enjoyed doing the review on Dune, even though it wasn't great. Every once in a while I do groups of not great book reviews, which is maybe one of the reasons why I'm sort of hesitating about doing book reviews, because I'm not great at it. Like, usually they're fine, but it's not my best skill. But I think, working on articulating is something I always want to do, like getting better at articulating, and I think book reviews are a good thing for that. So anyway, if you are curious as to my thoughts on Dune and actually finally finishing it, I will leave a link to that up above for you to check out. And I do have one more review coming next week, as well as I'm hoping to do another tag. I'm not sure which one it'll end up being, and then I will get my Grinchathon TBR, but probably the week that Grinchathon starts. I'll probably put it up then. I have to, as I said, firm up depending on whether or not I finish other things, because I want to set myself up for success, even though the readathon's very open. So anyway, there are my thoughts. There are some of the things that I'm working on. Let me know your thoughts on series. Do you pick and stick or jump around? And book reviews. Do you like watching them? Do you only like watching them if you have read the book? Or do you like watching them even if you haven't read the book? That would actually be really helpful to know in terms of being spoilery or spoiler-free. I can't quite decide. Something is trying to happen. Something is trying to form itself. So I'm just trying to sort of see where it's going. It's not my normal way. Gosh, I'm usually like, make the decision and make it happen. This whole like nebulous leanings and just moving towards, it's very uncomfortable, but it's good to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's not my favorite thing, but it's growth. Like, honestly, that's how we grow. So anyway, that is it. Let me know what you're reading this weekend, and I hope you can stay cool if you're anywhere where we're getting this heat, because my goodness, it's intense. So, okay, thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back soon with another video.